She's like, no. I go, what's the big deal?
Joe Rogan, man, his daggone his comedic side. I love when that part pops out, bro, because he says whatever is on his mind that most people won't say, and I love that. I know it's probably not the best thing to say, but dang it, I enjoy when people are just they take that cloak off and they just this is me. This is me. Take it how you want it.
First too, my daughter was a little worried about her. I go, she's gonna be a dyke. She's like, no. I go, what's the big deal? You like lesbians? Who cares? I don't care. I'm like, I do not care. And she's like, and then she turned the corner and then but we just let her be whatever she's in. But she was really into like Batman for a while.
Yeah, my daughter is into Batman, and then she was into Wonder Woman. Like, who cares? But but what's funny about this is that the left kept saying, even when I met my wife, right, who's a conservative, and I made her more conservative when we got married because that's what men tend to do to their wives, but she I remember early on we had a conversation about this, and I said women don't throw like men, and she got like all offended, and I said, but that's factually true. She said, right, but it's insulting. It's like, no, that's factually true. Like, I'm sorry, like, there have been studies out of 1,000. If you took a woman throwing a baseball and then 1,000 men throwing a baseball, the woman will throw faster than out of those 1,000 men. This is in the book The Sports Chain. The woman will throw faster than 2 of those men out of 1,000. And we're not talking about like Goose Gossage here. We're talking about like
regular humans.
We're talking about the accountant from down the block. We're talking about Paul Ryan flinging a baseball.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's not the way this stuff works.
Well, that was the counter that Fallon Fox used, was that she actually lost to a woman. She lost to a woman named Ashley Evans Smith. But what I said was, no, this proves my point, is that you're not good. You're just a man.
Well, this was, John McEnroe got slapped all over the lot when he said about Serena Williams. She's great. Serena Williams is great and all. But if Serena Williams were he said she's the best female player ever. And they were like, well, why not just the best player ever? And he's like, because she's a woman. Like, if she were a man, she'd get her ass kicked. And
he said that? John McEnroe said that, guys? I need to see what video he said that on, because I remember John McEnroe. He was wild, bro. He used to be pissed off, like whenever the people the judges, the line judges or the net judges or whatever they was, did not call it correctly. They called it out and it was actually in. He would throw his daggone racket. He would start stomping. He would cuss them out. I used to like him. I used to like him. I didn't even watch tennis, but when I saw those, the replays off of, the highlights of tennis and whatnot, I really enjoyed that because of his aggression. But if he said that, man, I really want to see it. I really want to see that.
Why not just the best player ever? And he's like, because she's a woman. Like, if she were a man, she'd get her ass kicked. And everyone was like, no, how dare you? Right. There is something called the Universal Tennis Ranking. She would rank in the mid-ranks of college male players if she were a man. And Serena Williams had said like 5 years ago, no, I never want to play with like Andy Roddick. He'd kill me. She actually did this. There was a 200th ranked man in the world who she wanted to just warm up with. And they played a normal match for he won 6-1, 6-0. Right, and he was like ranked 200th in the world, and the only shock was that he dropped a point to her.
Well, there was the issue of Renee Richards when Renee Richards started playing tennis against women and kicking their ass, and he was a middling player at best as a woman, or as a man rather, but as a woman he was iller.
This is what should insult feminists. It turns out that Caitlyn Jenner won all these Hero of the Year awards and everything. We men are so great that even when we decide to be women, we're better than women.
That was the most bizarre thing.
Wow, man. You come on. That's not even hilarious. I don't even like that joke. I don't like that joke. Even when we decide to be women, we're better at being women. Ain't no way a man is better at being a woman. Women are the best things walking this damn earth. The best, and sorry to call them things, but if we're talking about them objectively, nothing can beat a woman. But I see what you're saying as far as sports and whatnot. It's not fair. It just isn't fair. You know what I mean? They just don't have the biology for it. I mean, I get it. I mean, we play them in chess, get our asses whipped then. Play something against them with the mind. I bet they whoop our ass then. But when it comes to that physicality, man, it's always going to be an issue. There's nothing for us to daggone pop our collar for. Be like, yeah, you know what I mean? They can't mess with me. Nah, what for? There's no honor in that.
The most bizarre thing. He'd only been a woman for 6 months.
But he's amazing at
Woman
it.
of the Year.
He's incredible at it. He was a natural.
He's a gold
medalist. It turns out that men are better even at being women than women. Like, no wonder feminists are pissed, and they should be. And this whole glossing over the difference between feminists who have been claiming that women are distinct from men and important and different and better in certain ways. Like, I don't understand how you hold these two simultaneous thoughts. Hillary Clinton needs to be president because we need a female president. But also, Donald Trump, if he said he was a woman tomorrow, would be a woman. How do you hold those two simultaneous thoughts? I always thought that in the last week of the election, if Trump thought he was going to lose, he should have just declared himself a woman, and then he too could have run as the first female president.
That would have been amazing.
That would have been incredible trolling.
If he just showed up with a dress and lipstick.
Man. And the entire left.
I identify as a woman. I'm the best looking woman ever. I've been voted as the best looking woman of all time.
Melania's
one
now a
of
lesbian.
the great arguments that I got in online, when it wasn't even arguments, but so many people were calling me a.
Okay, I cannot get that daggone picture out of my head now. Donald Trump as a daggone woman. Donald Trump as a woman? Oh my God. Nope. No.
And so this Fallon Fox thing, it was stunning because it was so confusing to me. I'm like, I'm talking about defending a biological woman. Like, these biological women, at least two of them got the eaten out of them by Fallon Fox before they found out that she used to be a man. I'm like, that's not an issue to these people? And so this one woman said, she's always been a woman. And I said, okay. She gave birth, she impregnated a woman and got her pregnant. I go, what about then? She goes, even then.
Yeah. Well,
so even then, she was a woman. She was a woman when she was a woman with her and getting that woman pregnant. Like, we are in fantasy land.
Yeah, it's crazy towns out there.
This doesn't mean, this is what's crazy. Like, you can't, just because something's illogical, you can't just decide that someone's a bitch. Like, we're in a weird area. We're talking about bone structure, and here's the crazy
muscle
thing.
Density.
There's the crazy thing is that they always rely on these gender.
Really, Heather? You have gifted another 50 subs? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are awesome. Okay, let's get back into it. Okay.
Crazy
muscle
thing.
Density.
There's a crazy thing is that they always rely on these gender reassignment doctors to define the terms. And it's really interesting because I got deep into the rabbit hole with this because I was really shocked at how many people were angry at me.
Yeah.
And there is one doctor who is a board-certified endocrinologist who sort of broke it down. She's like, not only is the science behind this crazy, but when you have gender reassignment surgery, one of the big issues with men transitioning into women is bone density. Mm-hmm. She's like, when you have gender reassignment surgery, you're taking estrogen, which actually preserves bone density. She's like, not only do they have less bone density once they become a woman, they might have more.
Whoa.
Because you're preserving it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to automatically be just like a woman in a year or so.
I don't think surgeons, I mean, I know too much about doctoring from having spent 1,000 years with my wife's medical education to believe that doctors have the capacity to magically change a man into a woman. No.
Maybe it's going to happen one day with like CRISPR or something like that when they start using, genetic, literally genetic
before
editing.
Birth, maybe. I mean, if you actually...
Ben Shapiro is winning, huh? Ben Shapiro is winning. How much money him and his daggone family got? They are rolling in the dough, bruh. His daggone wife is a doctor. He's got 4.5 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. Speaks everywhere. Get paid to speak everywhere. Dude is a lawyer himself. Like, sheesh, brother. My gosh. He's trying to take over the world. It's okay. Hey.
Start using, genetic, literally genetic
before
editing.
Birth, maybe. I mean, if you actually edit the chromosomes before birth, but no. I mean, like, no. If once your genes have been defined, once your chromosomes have been defined, like, this is 5th grade science, people. It's 5th grade science.
What scares the shit out of me is when you hear these stories about people deciding that their child, who's like 8 or 9 years old,
this is effed up beyond belief.
It's scary because you can't, a 9-year-old, look, a 17-year-old doesn't know. That was the thing about that Ruby Rose girl. She was saying that when she was young, when she was a teenager, she wanted to be a man. She wanted to be transgender. And that she had gone through that phase, and now she's so happy that she didn't do anything.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
they say that 80% of kids who experience any sort of gender dysphoria as children grow out of it. So when you have a society that reinforces it, and then in Canada, they're passing laws now that say that if a kid says, you have a girl and the girl says, I'm a boy, and she's 3, that the government can come into your house and take the kid, because obviously if you don't want to humor the kid and get the kid treatment or surgery or hormone blockers, then you're obviously doing something wrong to the kid. This is just, it's insane.
That's a touchy one right there. That is a touchy one right there. I honestly don't know where I sit on that side of the whole transgender thing. Like, if a child, I don't even think, I think a child's mind should be fully developed before they should be able to make decisions like that. That's just me. I think that's me. Hopefully I'm not offending anyone, but if I am, this is true to me. I think that someone should be able to, like, I don't know, man. This whole thing is super sensitive, and yeah, this is super sensitive. Is there like a transgender part of the government that can discuss these rules and laws, that can be like, nah, you're not old enough yet. You should be 25 before you can decide. I don't know. I'm not a daggone expert on this. Neither are these guys. But they are in positions where they have a right to put their opinions out there, and you should take it for what it's worth. At the end of the day, we all have opinions. Like they say, we all got booty holes and blah, blah, blah.
Hormone blockers, then you're obviously doing something wrong to the kid. This is just, it's insane. This is the kind of stuff where you're talking legit civil war. Like when you say that the government can take people's kids from them because the government knows better than you how to parent your kids on basic things like, are you a boy or a girl? That's going to get violent pretty quickly. If you send someone to my door with a gun saying, I'm taking your daughter from you because your daughter says she's a boy at school, and you're not going to take her to a psychiatrist to start her transitioning process, no.
But how do we get so far down this rabbit hole of insanity? And this is not taking away the personal choice of a 60-year-old man like Bruce Jenner who decides he wants to be a woman.
Do what you want. Free country.
Go have at it. Have a good time.
Go have
But
at
how did we get so crazy that becomes an option, that people they're not paying attention to the massive variables that a child encounters, psychological variables, stress variables, what's going on in the home, what's happening hormonally, what's happening psychologically, what is happening to you, and how can you decide, like, this is it? You're gonna allow this kid to make a lockdown decision to begin gender transition surgery at like 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah, you can put hormone blockers in there to an 8-year-old. Yeah.
I don't believe in that. Too young. I'm sorry. Too young. No. No.
Transition surgery at like 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah, you can put hormone blockers in there to an 8-year-old.
Yeah, and and then they'll show you like this girl who's like 13, who used to be a boy, and you see her act and talk, and they go, "How could you imagine that this isn't a girl?" Okay, I don't. I don't know. I just don't know what happened.
I'm going to go with the fact that there's a Y chromosome in every cell of that person's body, except, ironically, for some of his sperm cells, to tell me that that's probably a boy. And yes, you can block the manifestation of some physical characteristics. That does not change the chromosomes. And there are legitimately intersex people, right? I mean, there are people who legitimately have conditions like Klinefelter syndrome. I mean, these are actual biological things.
Klinefelter syndrome. I have to look that up. I would ask y'all to tell me in the comments, but by the time y'all tell me, I would have already looked it up. But thank y'all. Y'all always help me out, man.
Who legitimately have conditions like Klinefelter syndrome. I mean, these are actual biological things. But if you're telling me any boy can be a girl, no. The answer is no, and that's not biologically correct, and you're not doing any sort of service to a child, especially evidenceless. I mean, you're doing no service to a child by humoring what is obviously a mental condition. And a mental condition, by the way, again, linked 40% lifetime suicide rate is higher than any other population on planet Earth by a whopping margin. I mean, telling kids that we are going to force you into like you express when you're 5, that you think you're the opposite sex, and now at 8 we're going to transition you into this, and your suicide rate is exactly the same as somebody who didn't do that, right? Or it's very similar to somebody who didn't do that, and like this is somehow supposed to benefit the person. It's just, it's beyond imagination to me. I think it's cruelty.
Well, it's very strange for sure. And as someone who doesn't experience gender dysphoria, I like to, I mean, when someone's got some sort of an issue, whatever it is, whether you call it an issue or a condition, and I don't have it, I try to be as standoffish. I try to be as objective. I try to be as kind as possible.
We twins, Joe
This is a
Rogan.
weird one, though.
Yes.
This is a weird one because it's become some sort of a fad, and any criticism of it whatsoever, even discussion of it, you are labeled as a transphobic piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty much same thing I said earlier today. You can't have a conversation about them. But when you incorporate the rest of the world after that conversation, after that insider conversation, and you want other people to go by your rules, that's when it becomes tricky. I told y'all before, I was a minister of music at a pretty large church, and someone wanted to sing on my praise team, and this someone turned out to be transgendered, and I was the only one in that church that was like, come to well, I wasn't the only one. I was the only one who can make decisions. That was like, come on to rehearsal and let's see what happens. Well, the only reason why they waited until I became minister of music to ask if they can join is because they didn't feel like they were welcome. They didn't feel welcome to join. And this person, I spoke to the pastor about it, and the pastor was like, "You're a homophobe, ain't you?" I was like, "Nah, I'm not." He was like, "Yeah, you are." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm just asking out of respect because I have a whole, you have a church. You know the lay of your church. You understand your church more than me. You know your parishioners more than I do. And I'm looking at my praise team, and they all have opinions too. But me, I'm thinking about the person and their walk with God, and nobody should be denied to be able to serve in any capacity when it comes to serving the Lord." So I was completely open with it. I wasn't considering the families that would be completely and totally against it. Had they seen, when they come up in the church and they see somebody singing praise and worship or singing hymns and everything to get church started, and they're like, "Wait a minute, why is that person singing praise and worship right now when they clearly believe that God made a mistake and they're not trying to do anything to fix that, but yet they're going to sing to me about God?" There's some people who have their ways of thinking, and when it comes to people in the world, you got to deal with everyone. If you're going to be dealing with them, you got to deal with everyone. I was willing to take that. I was willing to take that fight, but I invited them to come to rehearsal. They never came because they know how to read the room. They saw how people were acting. They probably been listening and watching. It was like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I'm straight. Don't worry about it. I'm good. But never told me why, and I never pressed the issue. I just kept it moving. But it does come a time where you do have to face these situations, but sitting down and having a conversation about what's best for a group of people that you don't particularly understand will be frowned upon by their community, no matter how you look at it.
However,